Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Thursday. It is Thursday. We are back with part 4 of the dysregulated and disrupted nervous systems. So in part 1, we kind of we had an overview, right? We did a little bit of an overview. Part 2, we did the more medical side and the more sciencey side of this. And then part 3, we started talking about different ways to help regulate the nervous system. So today, though, we're going to talk about dissociation during intimacy, which is something else that can be caused by a disrupted nervous system. So again, I'm just going to read the thing I always read in the morning. I made myself some coffee, but I think I made it too strong. So we'll see. We shall see. I don't know. Clinic. Good morning, Muddy. Good morning, older sibling. I am not a trained professional or a therapist. I'm just someone in the dysregulated nervous system trenches with you. This is my research and my plan designed by Copilot, which is not a substitution for anyone who needs professional help. I do recommend therapy, a strong support group, or both. Okay. There's also a book that I've been recommending if you have had some kind of trauma by Bessel van der Kolk. So I don't know what's happening. I had to start the show over again because the minute I came on, it started rebuffering. So I apologize to anybody that's having a problem with that. I don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure it's my connection, but I do apologize for that. So again, and metaphysically speaking, thoughts and vibrations. If our internal system, our natural vibrations, our bodies, fight or flight, if you will, doesn't match our thoughts, then those positive words are just that, words. And they often remain that way until we regulate our nervous system. So this is one of the reasons why we're doing this, because, if you're struggling manifesting, or you're struggling, not just setting the intentions, but, setting the intention is easy. Manifesting is the hard part, right? And then you're like, well, how come on my really, really good days I can make magic happen, but on my regular days when I'm just feeling blah, blah, blah? It's because when you're having a really, really good day, your nervous system is probably functioning like a normal human being. Okay, so it doesn't mean you're not normal. It just means that, there are certain things that disrupt our nervous system and help dysregulate it. So what we want to do is help it get back to where it should be. So I just want to say this again. Even if this isn't your trauma, even if you do not have a problem dissociating during intimacy, I ask you to stay. And the only reason I say that is because you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know who might need your help or who might need your insight that had no idea that this is something that, even though they healed their trauma, that this is a different part. So I'm going to read this again, all right, and then we'll get going. So, trauma therapy focuses on memory, meaning, emotion, and cognition. Healing the story and healing the nervous system are related, but they are not the same process, okay? They are not the same process. Nothing about this pattern is your fault. It's the body doing exactly what it learned to do to keep you safe. Whether you lash out, go numb, and shut down, become combative, your nervous system is struggling to regulate and it becomes overwhelmed, often leading to those reactions above. Take a deep breath, look around, and remind yourself that you are safe. So this is really what this is about. This is, yesterday we did a bit of dissociation, just on a regular basis, like where you just kind of zone out, you tune out. Maybe, one of the examples I gave is when I was still that hurt person hurting people and I would lash out, older siblings' natural reaction, which she told me was actually quite often, even before we met, said she just shuts down. Okay, almost like playing possum, right? You just shut down. Almost like if I'm quiet, they can't see me. So, I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny because the way I say it in my head. But these are natural reactions. So these are natural things that we go through, and they're part of the trauma story, even though the trauma story has been healed. So remember, cognitive, mental, all those things, they may be healed. You may have healed your story, but going, well, why am I still clenching? Why am I still this? Because your nervous system needs to be retrained. Your nervous system needs a hard reset on getting back to just regulating normally. Okay. Some of the methods that we had were the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which was, I think in here, it should be closer to the front. The 5, 4, 3, no, I think it was in day 2. I think it was in day 2 that we had the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which was 5 things you can. Sorry, we're just going to go over this so that we still have a little bit of consistency here. So there was also the inhales. The inhale to 4, hold for 4, exhale to 6. Here we go. The grounding techniques of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. So again, it's your 5 senses, right? Seeing, touching, hearing, smelling, and tasting. So these can all get you back to your head. Letting your jaw hang for 5 seconds, dropping your shoulders, like, you know, being proactive about dropping your shoulders. But dissociation during intimacy can be a little bit different. So this is where I'm really going to open up, because it's kind of embarrassing, but at the same time, it really kind of is what it is. And it's been a bazillion years since I have been intimate with anybody, with someone else not in the room. But I know, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to have no shame. So I talked about yesterday where, you know, one thing I love about Europeans and even Asians is that they have no shame, right? I mean, there was that whole little section in the corner of the Japanese store of just, you know, feel good stuff. And, you know, it's like you get the giggles when you first walk in because we're not used to that, right? But here it just says, you know, no one under 18 allowed, okay, 18 plus only. And they have a flag right there, but they really don't hide anything, okay? So it's kind of like it leaves it open to conversation with the parents and the kids going, "Mom, Mommy, what are these toys?" Or, "Dad, what are these toys?" So, you know, I might get giggly, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to, but I love how there is no shame. It's just kind of an open thing, you know, it's just self-gratification. You know, when you're growing up, you're taught that it's bad, but it's not, okay? The body needs release. The body needs that, you know, that outward rush of, I don't know, endorphins, if you will. But I don't know why we tend to stigmatize it. So when I say that, yeah, it's been a long time since I've been with anybody, a very, very long time. Okay. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because, as I mentioned yesterday, one of the things that I noticed, or one of the things that finally dawned on me is, you know, I always joke and say, yeah, I'm the best partner I've ever had. Well, that's because I trust myself. And believe it or not, even in the early stages of, you know, self gratification, I guess we'll call it, to keep it safe, I don't know, I would still dissociate. So believe it or not, in the very beginning, I didn't even trust myself. And I would dissociate. And then it would just kind of be like, well, that was, you know, time not well spent. And so I started having to heal these things. But after I went through the trauma therapy, I was kind of like, wow, you know, it's a whole different experience. So I've never been with a person since I've gone through all my trauma therapy, just me. And I'm curious at what that will be like, what that will entail. However, it still makes me nervous because you're still putting yourself in a situation that is unfamiliar. And yes, you know, if you are someone who's with a new partner, and, you know, it is going to be a new experience with this person because it's not the person you were with before. And so, you know, there's just this curiosity, of course, but when you add another layer to it and you add the dissociation to it, it can feel a little overwhelming. It can feel a little daunting. So this is why I was really asking that even if you don't struggle with this, you never know who you might come across that does. It could be a friend, a family member just complaining about it. It could be someone you meet along the way and a partner. So this will help you, you know, as the other person, help them through it, help you be patient with their process. And, you know, if I ever do find another partner, you know, in my life, if I get lucky and find another boyfriend, I'm just hoping that this person will be patient. But you also, if you are the person, okay, you have to be vocal about this. You have to, you know, you don't have to tell them what your trauma is, but you can just say, you know, I get a little nervous and I tend sometimes to dissociate. It's up to you how you want to handle it. I can't tell you whether or not you should share your story, because it can be very personal. It can be very weird for the other person, but not always. If you find a good person and you know, then you'll know whether or not your spidey instincts are telling you can trust them or not. But also, if you're the other person, don't push. Okay, some people just don't want to share that story. They don't want to relive it. They just want to let it go and be in the past. But just help them. Okay, just, you know, just say, you know, sometimes I tend to dissociate during intimate moments. So, you know, please be patient with me, you know, because I'm doing my best. And the reason I want people who haven't had this issue to stay here is because you can play an active role in this part of the healing. You can be that person that makes them feel seen. We're going to talk about that towards the end, but things that the partner can do to help the person who is affected by dissociation through this. Okay, so let's get going. Got a lot to cover. All right, dissociation during intimacy. Now I can't even talk. Dissociation during intimacy is one of the most common trauma-linked nervous system responses, and it makes complete sense in the context of what you have already shared. So remember, I got this from Copilot, but Copilot's information came from the Cleveland Clinic, okay? So I'll walk you through what's actually happening in your nervous system, why it shows up specifically during intimacy, and what patterns tend to help people move toward feeling safer and more present. No sexual content, just the physiology, psychology, and trauma patterns behind it. So I know I did put a little of the sexual content in there, but it's because I think we need to destigmatize, you know, intimate relations, whether they're with someone else in the room or no one else in the room. All right. It's a natural act. And I think we kind of demonize it, and we shouldn't. You know, I'm not saying go out there and stand on a corner. Okay, and you know, I know that was very insensitive and I apologize. But what I'm saying is just, you know, be more open, you know, be more open to the moment, and don't feel like it's such a vile, bad thing. Okay. So, that's one of my notes. One of my notes says, should I share this? I just did. Not been intimate with a partner since last boyfriend before I psychologically healed my trauma, but realized the other day that taking care of my own needs brought me to new heights because I trust me. I know I am safe with me. And again, as I mentioned beforehand, I would dissociate even with just myself. So I had to learn how to trust myself, and I had to learn how to be more aware with myself, so that, you know, and a lot of that practice I did was hoping that when I do have a partner, that I will be a little more involved. I don't know how else to put it. So anyways, number one, intimacy is a high activation state for the nervous system. Even when it's wanted, loving, and safe, intimacy involves closeness, vulnerability, exposure, unpredictability, being seen, and being touched. Now, the interesting thing is, while I was writing that, I felt my body clenching. I did. I felt like I told you, I have like a death grip on the pen when I write. I felt it get even tighter, and I could feel like the paper, I could just feel myself really pressing into the paper. So, obviously there's still some nervous system work in there that needs to be done. So for a nervous system shaped by trauma, those sensations can resemble earlier danger signals. Your body isn't reacting to the person, it's reacting to the state. So this is why dissociation can happen even when you want the connection. I put my notes in here. I literally burst into tears when I was reading that. So it says, this is why dissociation can happen even when you want the connection. So just number two. Dissociation is your body's way of staying safe When the nervous system senses, wait, sorry. I'm trying to figure out what I'm writing here. Dissociation is your body's way of staying safe. When the nervous system senses, I can't fight, I can't flee, this is too much too fast, it shifts into freeze or shutdown. So basically you dissociate. During intimacy, this can look like spacing out, feeling far away, losing track of time, going numb emotionally or physically, feeling like you're watching yourself, kind of like an out-of-body experience, right? Suddenly feeling tired or blank, and difficulty speaking or staying present. These are not failures, these are protective reflexes. So, this isn't your fault. Okay, first and foremost, just like we said at the beginning, this is not your fault. This is just a pattern that was created by your nervous system to keep you safe and to kind of shut you down during very uncomfortable, very icky moments, if you will. But the problem is that because your nervous system was trained this way, and because I don't know how long this type of information has been out there, but I'm just learning about it now. So I don't think it's something that's widely spread, at least not in this country. And I think we need to change that, because dissociation can be a problem in some relationships. And, it's because I think the partner doesn't understand, and the person doesn't want to say anything, or they don't understand because they don't know. I certainly didn't know until recently. So, I feel like I'm becoming a brand new person. This morning I did a body check and I noticed I wasn't as tense as I normally am. So even that was a major thing, because my body is starting to understand we're safe, we're okay, you're fine. All right. So number 3, why intimacy triggers old survival patterns. Trauma, especially early trauma, wires the nervous system to associate closeness with danger, unpredictability, obligation, loss of control, and being overwhelmed. So when someone is close to you now, your body may interpret it as too close, too fast, too exposed, or as we call it, personal space, which I have a problem with. If I don't know you and you are in my personal space, I start to get the heebie-jeebies. You could be the safest person on the planet, and I would still be like, because my nervous system is reacting. It's putting me in defense mode. So even if your mind knows you're safe, your body remembers differently. So there you go. Even if your mind knows you're safe, your body remembers differently. This mismatch is the root of dissociation during intimacy. So number 4, the jaw tension you experience is part of the same pattern. The bracing, the hypervigilance, sympathetic activation, which is fight or flight. And so those are the patterns that it creates, right? So again, your personal space. Dissociation is the dorsal vagal activation, which is freeze or shutdown. When both happens at once, you get a functional freeze. You get a functional freeze state. Tense on the outside, numb or distant on the inside. Excuse me. This is extremely common in people with trauma histories. So, and just so you know, the coffee is decaffeinated. And anyone who has something to say about decaffeinated, I will die on this hill. Okay? Because it just means that I love coffee. Without the perks. Get me getting all uppity about coffee. Older sibling and I were talking about that. People make fun of decaf all the time, but it's like, for those of us who aren't allowed to drink caffeine all the time, we still need our coffee fix. We need our coffee hit. So, sorry. I may have an addiction. So anyways, number 5. What helps without pushing your system too hard? I'm sorry. I don't know what is happening to me today. Number 5, what helps without pushing your system too hard? These are nervous system safe approaches that don't involve anything sexual, just regulation and grounding. So slow the pace before any closeness. Your nervous system needs time to shift out of survival mode. Things that help: long, slow breathing, grounding through the feet. Don't sit in a rolling chair. Grounding through the feet. Gentle movement like swaying, orienting, looking around the room, feeling the weight of your body supported, This isn't about fixing anything. It's about giving your system time to settle. So again, it's just, you need to shift from survival mode into intimate mode, or into just this mellow mode. All right. So B, oh, that was A. B, stay connected to your body in small, tolerable ways, not big awareness that can overwhelm you. Try noticing your hands, feeling your breath in your chest, placing a hand on your sternum, feeling the temperature of the room. Tiny anchors keep you from slipping into dissociation. And, if you're with a partner, maybe even put your hand on their chest, right? Just if you're in that intimate situation, you start to feel like you're dissociating. I mean, don't push them away. Just kind of like, like you're there, right? I have it right over my heart and my sternum. So, but, just kind of like place your hand on them, realize that this is, you are safe. You are safe. And if anybody makes you feel unsafe, you do not owe them anything. You are not obligated to follow through on this act. All right. If someone's pressuring you or making you feel like you need to do something that you are not ready for, or making you feel like, well, if you love me, you'll do this. That's bullshit. All right. That is one of the biggest trauma lies they will tell you. And sometimes that can trigger you. But if someone's saying, well, if you love me, you'll be intimate. It's like, intimacy is not just about love. It's just a side, it's a side thing with love. Love is loving someone unconditionally. Love is seeing that person and realizing that they are having a bit of an issue and saying, okay, look, you know what? Let's take a step back, and let's go at your pace. Let's do this at your pace. If someone is pushing you or someone is forcing you, you do not have to stay. All right. I'm not trying to give anyone bad advice, but I have been in these moments where people have said this to me and I felt that obligation. And then somehow I mixed up, intimacy with love, saying, well, I have to do this, or, because that's the only way I can show them I love them. So that was a hard one to break. Okay. That was a real hard one to break. But sex isn't always about love. Sometimes people just do it because it feels good. That's the truth, right? And, then there are those intimate moments. And I have never had a truly personal intimate moment with someone because it always just felt like emotion to me. And not just emotion, but it just kind of feels like an obligation, because it's never when I wanted it, it's when they wanted it. If I tried to be intimate, a lot of times I was just pushed away, like, yeah, I'm not in the mood. I know. And so, and they're like, yeah, well, so it was always on their terms. And it's not to belittle them. It's just, I didn't have a voice back then, and I have one now. So let's see. Muddy says, I rarely drink coffee, but did today. Oh, lots going over here this week. Oh, that sounds like a story, Muddy. I need to know whatever that story is. So I found this cute little thing, right? My little tiny mason jar. I'm pouring the rest of the chocolate milk inside my coffee. Bear with me. I think part of this too, a lot of the breaks I keep taking is because this is a bit of a rough subject for me as well. It's not easy talking about dissociation. It's also not very easy just kind of opening up the story. This is stuff that, a long time ago, I would be in tears right now. And by healing my story, it's helped me get through this. But I have noticed that talking about these things, I think it's my nervous system reacting. And I think that's why I'm just kind of like, oh, I think that's why, through a lot of this. And oh yeah, no worries, Muddy. That's fine. No, I don't want to share. I don't want you to share it here. But anyways, I think that's partly why, because I think my brain is just like, nope, this is rough. My brain is like, we can handle this, but my body's like, I'm sorry, I meant my body is saying, no, this is rough. This is hard, because this is stuff that we haven't really faced or talked about. So yeah, and I think that's why I'm just kind of flying through it too. So I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'm just going to take a second to just take a deep breath and just calm my nervous system, calm my anxiety. I have to remind myself that I am safe talking about this. And I think the part that I just shared got me a little excitable. that, no means no. Okay, period. No means no. If you are not ready, do not let someone force you or push you into something. If they are a good person that you are with, they will understand. They might be a little hurt, so you have to explain a little. Look, you know what? There's things I've been through in my life that make this a little hard for me. So, let's try something. Let's take this slow. Let's take this easy. And I know that a lot of times, people will just, people will feel this way, like, oh, well, if the whole if you love me thing. And you notice I'm not mentioning sexes, okay? It can go either way. It can go either way. A woman may feel like she's been pushed off. A man may feel like he's being pushed off, or however you identify. You may feel like your partner's like, nope, sorry, like they're not attracted to you. It has nothing to do with you if there is a trauma story there. Okay, it is everything to do with them. And, sometimes too, I think it's a performance thing. Will I be good enough? Will I satisfy them? Will I stay in my body during this whole, exercise, during this whole, action? I don't know what to call it. Intimate moment? Action? I don't know. I'm trying to keep it clean here. But, thank you, Muddy. I love you too. So, I'm okay. I just want you to know that I am okay. It's just, I'm realizing now how different these two processes really are. It's wild. It's like, it blows my mind. When you think you've healed your brain and all of a sudden you find out you got to heal your nervous system too. So again, like I mentioned yesterday, your nervous system is we are fleshy computers, and your nervous system is your CPU. It's your central processing unit. It's your fight or flight, it's your shut down and freeze, or it's your let's go, go get them. So, okay, let's get back to this. Okay, now C, use your voice. Even as simple, I need a moment, I'm here, I'm okay, which also means I'm safe. Can interrupt the freeze response. Your voice signals safety to your vagus nerve. D, co-regulation with a partner. If you have a partner you trust, things like eye contact, slow breathing together, holding hands, or pausing without pressure can help your nervous system stay present. But this only works if it feels safe, not forced. Do I know myself, or do I know myself? I mean, I know I wrote this down a couple days ago, but clearly it's stuck in my head. But these are, some of these are my notes, okay? So I'm like, so it said, it actually said on the computer, but this only works if it feels safe. I put not forced, and we just talked about that. So again, if you were the partner, if you have a partner you trust, things like eye contact, slow breathing together, holding hands, pausing without pressure. I was just thinking about this, and it keeps rolling through my mind. I think you could also ask them, give me your hand, just gently give me your hand, and maybe guide it to a part of your body, so they can feel you, so they can touch you, because, having that connection can really help. I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if I was covering my mic, but having that connection can really, I think, help. And just hold it there. Maybe do the deep breathing together. Maybe do the eye contact, because sometimes that alone is intimacy. Okay, sometimes we think of intimacy as being interconnected. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to giggle. That just flew out of my mouth. But I think, the touch. There's something very intimate about a touch. Even if you just hold their hands, like where it says here, holding hands. But, ask them, do you feel safe enough for me to take your hand and gently place it on my body? And please, place it above the waist, all right? You can move down later, but you want to give them that sense of safety, that sense of, I'm okay, I am safe. This person is not going to hurt me. Because even though you're not going to hurt them, their body is in survival mode. And their body, even though their brain may be fixed, even though their emotions and their emotional reactions may be fixed, their body doesn't know this yet. The body hasn't gotten that signal that says we're okay. So these soft little cues are things that can really help someone find that comfort and that safety in this intimate moment. So, trauma-informed therapy has been previously discussed. Okay, so we talked about the somatic therapy, EMDR therapy, polyvagal therapy. And let's see, number 6, the most important thing to know. Dissociation during intimacy doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're not attracted to or attractive yourself. It doesn't mean you're not, or it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means your body learned to survive in ways that made sense at the time, and it can now learn new patterns slowly, gently, and safely. Okay, so, I'm not going to go there today. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, we don't need to talk about my trauma. Okay, we've talked about my trauma a lot, and I will just say this. It was as bad as you can possibly think it was. But here's the thing. The reason I don't want to go there is because these sorts of, emotions can be caused by a lot of different things. Someone who's been grieving for a long time may feel dissociated. Maybe they lost their partner, and maybe they either lost their partner to death, or maybe they just lost their partner. So they, the intimacy may not feel like they're ready for it, and so they might dissociate. So this is why I always say that the trauma that you have carried is important to you to heal. But what gets us to the starting line of this healing journey, what gets us to where, we decide, hey, I got to work on my nervous system. We're all in the same boat. It's not a let's compare who's had it worse or who's had it, not as bad. We're all there together. We're all there trying to figure out why our bodies are doing this and why our systems keep shutting down on us when we really want to be with this person, or we really want to be around these group of people if you're in a friendly let's go out environment. Because dissociation doesn't just happen during intimacy. Dissociation can happen when your body just feels very overwhelmed. So I just wanted to do the last show on intimacy because I didn't want it to get mixed up with all the other stuff we were talking about. Because this one can actually include other people. All the things we talked about yesterday, 100% can include your support group, your friends, anybody. Whoever you trust, your therapist. I highly recommend professional help if you are starting your healing journey, because it can get brutal. And I don't want to scare people off from that. What I want is for people to know the truth. If someone would have told me, Shelley Marie, this is going to be really hard, but it's going to be the best thing you've ever done in your life, I would have been like, okay, but I had to learn it for myself. So it's not that I'm trying to remove something for you. I'm trying to let you know that when it gets scary, when it gets brutal, don't run away. I spent years running away every time it got hard. Until finally I just buckled down and I said, you know what? The only way out is through. The only way out is through. Shadow work will make you cry. Shadow work is going to bring a lot of stuff up for you. Regulating your nervous system is going to bring a lot of things up for you. And if you want to truly heal, unfortunately, it's something you have to run at instead of from. Okay, so I get that can be scary, and I know it may feel daunting and hard, but I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe you can do this. And I believe that when we learn that these two processes of healing are different, that we can become that whole person that we strive to be. I mean, it's not that we're not a whole person now. You may live your everyday life. You may go out there like, yeah, I'm just doing this, I'm doing that. And then you may be put into an intimate situation where, not necessarily intimacy itself, but just in a small group of people. And you may not know them all. And you may, maybe you have 2 friends out of 7, right? That you feel close to, that you trust. And these may be their friends or friends of friends. And all of a sudden you're kind of thrust into this thing where your nervous system may be shutting down because it might be feeling overwhelmed. Especially if it's an unpredictable, spontaneous moment. And that is one thing I'm really trying to work on, is being more spontaneous. I don't want to be a control freak. You know, I don't want to control every aspect of my life that it feels like I'm choking the hell out of it. I want to enjoy my life. I want to be able to walk outside and, you know, not scan for danger all the time. I mean, yeah, obviously we want to make sure you're safe. So scanning for danger is not a bad thing, but that's not the danger I'm scanning for. Or when I'm out at one of the things I was talking about when people get into my personal space, there was a Starbucks I used to love to go to. And at this Starbucks in particular, I would only bring my coloring books. I would just love to color. But there was somebody there who I think was just interested, you know, just saying, wow, you know, that maybe trying to start a conversation. But it always made me uncomfortable because they never said anything. They just kind of stood right behind me and stared over my shoulder. And it made me very uncomfortable to the point where I don't go there anymore. And instead of turning around and saying, hey, you know, want to join me? Because I got another coloring book. Instead, I just kind of, you know, finished up what I was doing, shut down and left. So those are learning curves for us too. Now, I don't know if this person had ill intentions. I mean, it's a public place, so I was safe there. But it kind of showed me that I did have work to do. And maybe that's what was showing me. Maybe that person was in my life for that moment to show me, hey, your nervous system's out of whack. But I didn't get it until now. Sorry, didn't register till now. So anyways, so again, it doesn't mean you're broken. You are not broken. It doesn't mean you don't care. We know you care. It doesn't mean you're not attracted to the person. We know you are. It does not mean that you're doing something wrong. You are not. You are reacting. Okay, your body is reacting. Mentally, you may be like, yeah, let's go. But physically, your body is like, nope. And it might rise up into your thoughts to where your body just shuts down. So again, it means your body learned to survive in ways that made sense at the time. And it can now learn new patterns slowly, gently, and safely. So I talked about why I went quiet and disappeared. Okay, because that was my thing. It says, you know, what was the situation? I said I would go quiet and disappear. So it says your intention. I want to feel attractive, connected, present. Your nervous system's interpretation was nope. I put that in there. That was me. Sorry. Your nervous system interpretation was too exposed, too vulnerable, too much pressure. Retreat. So when you try to step into confidence or sensuality, your system may shut down to keep you from feeling exposed. It's not about your partner unless their behavior is unstable or unsafe. It's about your history. I added that part. I wanted to put that in there because there are people who don't realize that fight or flight will come up because your spidey instincts are always working. If you're catching a vibe that you don't like, you are welcome to leave. But do it carefully, okay? Maybe just be like, oh, you know what? I don't know. Just find a safe way. And always let people know where you're going, okay? You know, don't keep it a secret. That's how we stay safe, okay? So, again, it's your history. So, we previously discussed grounding techniques. You can also use this. Let yourself feel attractive in microdoses. Instead of trying to be sexy, try noticing one part of your body that feels good. Wear something that feels comforting, or let yourself feel a little seen but not fully exposed. Your system can tolerate small doses better. Your system can tolerate small doses better than big leaps. So you'll be able to big leap one day, okay? You will be able to big leap one day, but you have to do these things so that you're not overwhelming your system to the point where you disassociate with yourself. So again, use your voice early before dissociation hits. Again, even as simple as noted earlier, give me a second, or please give me a second. Be polite, okay? I'm here, I'm okay. The sound of your voice can bring you back into your body. As with the other options with a partner, breathing together, eye contact, and a gentle touch on the arm or the back can help your nervous system feel safe. Or as I mentioned before, you know, if you're the partner, gently take their hand and just place it on a part of your body that you're comfortable with, up here, even the face, you know, just give them something that they can feel. so they know they're safe. And don't press their hand into you. Just gently hold their hand. Give them the option to let go if they need to. If they start to let go, don't force them. Okay? Do not force them. I guarantee that this person that is struggling with you wants to perform this act. But the nervous system is just, making it a little difficult. So again, if you are the partner, just help them through. Help them through, okay? Just be kind, be gentle, be compassionate, all right? So, now, hear this clearly. You didn't fail. You didn't ruin anything. You didn't do anything wrong. Your body reacted the way it did when it has learned that vulnerability is dangerous. But because you are facing this now, it shows you are ready to heal this part of yourself. So you have to decide what you want your partner to know or not know. But, this is what I wrote. Okay, you have to decide what you want your partner to know or not know. But if it is someone you are very close to, this is an opportunity to grow together and for them to help you. Should you notice dissociation in your partner, but they have said nothing, don't guess. Trust that when they are comfortable enough, they might share, but help them through the moment gently and with compassion. Some people prefer to leave the past behind them, and it is not our place to force anyone out of their comfort zone or to be privy to something they already feel is a burden. It's not secrecy, it's safety. And those feelings should be honored, not questioned, because not everyone is an open book or will want to talk. Or will want to talk about it as openly as some of us do. So again, not everyone is an open book or will want to talk about it as openly as some of us do. Like I said, I open myself up because I'm hoping it will help other people. It's plain and simple. I'm just hoping that it will help other people. I know it's, some people are a little surprised sometimes when I do share, because this is on the internet forever. Even if I take it down, even when it disappears off of Facebook, there are people who save these things, and so they're not always off the internet. But the point is that the story is out there. The story is out there, and if my story, again, as I've mentioned before, helps someone else heal theirs, then that's the magic of doing this. But I don't want you to feel like you have to be that person that turns around and feels like, oh, well, I healed, so I want to give back and I'm going to share my story. I love to talk and I love to write. And so these are two very good things that kind of come in handy for this show. But in no way, shape, or form do I want anyone to ever feel like you need to follow that same path. The point of me opening myself up and sharing my story one more time is to help other people heal theirs. You don't have to broadcast it to the world to help other people heal theirs. A gentle hello, a kind hello to someone that may look sad. Maybe they're just having a bad day. There may be absolutely nothing wrong in their life. They may have no trauma. They just might be having a bad day. A simple hello. I hope your day gets better, or I hope you have a lovely day, or a lovely rest of the day. And I think that that's important for us to remember that this isn't about, sharing things. Older sibling has shared her story with me, but she doesn't broadcast it to the world. However, she gives me full carte blanche. She gives me carte blanche to share it with other people. But I will say this. Her and I did a CSI class years and years and years ago. And we had a subject coming up because a lot of the kids that are in that class either want to go off to be counselors or, counselors in the police department and whatnot, and to be there for people. And so older sibling and I shared our stories, and we wanted to remind them, I finished it up, and her and I had both discussed it, that I would be the one to say it. And I said, when someone comes to you, because we know that sometimes people make shit up. All right. And that sucks for the person who has actually suffered a trauma, because it makes it harder for people to believe us. But I told them, when somebody comes in, Emma, use your spidey instincts. But I said, initially treat them with, kindness and respect. And I said, because a lot of times they're not going to want to talk about it. They're just going to want to forget it ever happened. They're going to want it to go away. And I think that's a big part of why our nervous system freaks out. I think that's, I'm just, free balling here. All right. I'm just, kind of balls to the wall in a moment, if you will. I think it's us just saying, hey, you know what? Our nervous system is messed up and my brain feels better, but I still feel stuck. So, it's kind of a messed up situation. It sucks. It does. But we can't change what happened in the past. What we can change is how we react to it. We can change how compassionate we are with ourselves. I spent quite a few years shaming myself about a lot of different things. There were choices in my life that I've made that were difficult. And, on top of being shamed by other people, I shamed myself because I started saying, well, maybe they're right. But you know what? We're all going to make difficult choices in our life. We're all going to go down paths that we're not sure we should have gone down. And, as long as we find our way back, we're going to be okay. I always like to tell people that, I was very lucky to have the parents I had because they kept me from being a statistic. Yes, I'm an emotional eater, but there are a lot of other addictions that I could have, fallen into because of what happened to me. And a lot of times people will fall into addictions because it's a numbing agent. It takes them away. It removes everything that has hurt them. It's like you lean into something to just kind of quiet your nervous system and your mind. And, again, I'm not a professional. I'm not a medical professional. These are just observations throughout my life that I've made with other people who have been through what I've been through, other people who have struggled with addictions because of what they've been through. It's not an easy path to heal. And like I said, the healing journey is no joke. No matter what it is you're healing across the board, it's no joke. But it will also be the best thing you do for yourself. I have a friend that started doing shadow work, freaked out and said, nope, I'm not doing this anymore because it made me cry. And I can't force them. But I was sitting there listening going, but that's part of the process. But it's not for me to tell them what they need to do to get better. That's a choice everybody has to make for themselves. I cannot make it for you. One of the reasons I also want to share the things that I've shared, even though we did not go into depth into it, or did not go into depth today about it, is because when I first found the group of people that helped me start healing my story, I didn't feel alone anymore. I didn't feel alone. And I think that is so important for us, to not feel alone, to know that even though this isn't something you would wish on your worst enemy, that, there are people out there who have been through your struggle. There are people just starting where you're at. There are people who have made it through and said, hey, we got this, you've got this, and then we turn around and, we help the people we can, even if it's just with a simple kindness or a simple kind word. It's that easy. That part is easy, but you do not have to share your story. Okay. I don't want anyone to ever feel like they have to share your story. I do suggest getting it up and out, which is why I love to suggest getting a journal. Homework. I have literally a billion journals. I mean, just here, and I have one sitting over there, and I have 3 more down here in my little compartment thingy. Older sibling knows. She's like, I have a whole shelf at home, just journals. But this one's for the show. This one is because I'm writing just a short thing on menopause, perimenopause, kind of like sarcasm in menopause. And this one's just my daily journal that I write in, so, and this was given to me by a friend for my birthday, but, it's Mary Poppins. But I mean, I know that I am a pen and a journal addict, because if you notice, they all have pens on them. But I do suggest it. You can buy something as simple as, sorry, one of these. You can do loose leaf paper. You can do a cheap old $2 journal. You can do a dollar store journal. All right. All these things are up to you. You can even do it on your phone. I know that a lot of people like to just kind of jot down notes in their phone. The reason I'm mentioning this is because when you get it out into the open, even if it's hard, you're getting it up and out of you. And that really is part of the healing process. A lot of, you'll see movies where they're joking and the person's going into therapy with like their 5,000 journals, right? And because it's good to get those feelings out. It really is. So it's not that I'm trying to give you homework or push the sales of journals and pens, although pens and paper have been around forever. But I do think it's really important to get it up and out of you, okay? You could even talk it into just a voice recording, something that you're going through, just as long as you get it out of yourself, all right? So I hope this week was helpful. I know it was just kind of an insight into a particular healing process. I even tried to wear a cute shirt for you guys so it would kind of calm your nerves. But I just want to say this. I want to thank everybody who's been on this journey with me, from Muddy to baby sibling to bestie to older sibling to my friend Jody. She was one of the first people I met when I found this CSA group on Twitter at the time, and we've become very good friends since then. And she has really helped me through a lot, and because she's been through what I've been through. Older sibling, she's older sibling. She's like pseudo mom for me. Baby sibling, even Muddy. These are people that have been there when I just feel like I'm going to lose my mind. And bestie too. And they're people I reach out to because I'm grateful to have that. And they're not the only ones. They're not the only ones. They're just the ones that I tend to turn to the most. During those rough moments, especially older sibling. Last night, so I'm allergic to cilantro. Okay, I know, total side adventure, side quest, and I'm allergic to cilantro. And then for some stupid reason, I decided to just spin in my chair, and I made myself sick. I told her, I said, maybe spinning in the chair activated the cilantro, because I didn't want to eat the cilantro, but the tacos were so good. And unfortunately they came mixed that way, but I think there was a lot more in there than my body is used to, because I can handle a little bit like in salsa, but when I start eating it directly, that's when it makes me sick. And who's the first person I called? Older sibling. I feel horrible. And then she was laughing because I sat there and I'm like, yeah, I spun myself dizzy and then I felt sick like I had a hangover. And she just, I can only imagine the look on her face, like shaking her head and going, what was she thinking? Hey, I may be 53, but doesn't mean I'm smart. Doesn't mean I still don't have childhood tendencies. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I am blessed. I am very, very lucky. And having gone through these 4 days of their nervous system, it has not only exhausted the hell out of me, just doing the research, but also going through the shows. I find that by noon, my whole system is just kind of shot. And, but I'm grateful. I am absolutely grateful. And Muddy, thank you for always coming on the show. I know it's not easy because it's almost noon where she is. Well, it's noon now. It's 12:30 almost where she's at. But these are people that I know I can trust. These are people that I know are in my corner. And while I know I have a lot of people, a lot of wonderful people in my corner, oh, that's right. Older sibling said, no, you said you were dying. I did. I called her and she answered and I said, I'm dying. And it felt like it. It really felt like it. My own sheer stupidity. Don't eat the cilantro and don't spin in chairs. 1,000 times. But I don't know. Maybe this is what we needed to do to finish up this show, because then it kind of it's been a heavy dose. It's been a heavy dose. Muddy said it's been very helpful, so thank you, Muddy, thank you, and thank you both for coming on. So anyways, I do hope it was helpful. Like I said, this isn't a substitution for actual help, okay, for therapy, or this is just an idea to give us an idea of why our body's doing the way it's doing. Because again, like I said, and I'll finish it up with this, I healed my trauma story, but I couldn't understand why I still felt stuck. I couldn't understand why I still felt like I wasn't moving forward. And then I realized it was the whole fight or flight, because going with the flow is unpredictable. And when your nervous system is healing, it needs the predictability. It needs to know that it is safe. So if you do want to go with the flow and you are trying to tell yourself, be spontaneous, just tell yourself, I'm safe. I'm safe in making this choice. I am safe in heading down this path. I am safe being spontaneous. We had my cousin and I the other day, when we wanted to go try the Turkish coffee, and the place that I had picked was closed, and she found another one of the same chain, and she says, well, there's one here, and that kind of threw me for a second, because after doing these shows, my nervous system was already like, oh my God, was in high alert. And so I thought, no, I'm going to be safe. We're going to be spontaneous. And it was great. It was absolutely, we were so global that day. We did the Turkish coffee, we did the Persian coffee, then we did Tokyo Central, and then we did Taco Tuesday. So we were completely global on Tuesday, okay? So just remind yourself you're safe, okay? Every morning you wake up, I am safe to move forward today. And if you need professional help, I absolutely 100% suggest it. But also make sure you have a very wonderful and good support group, or even find one on Facebook. Facebook has like groups coming out of their eyeballs, right? So, or even in person, if you belong to an HMO or a PPO, they can probably suggest groups for you. Okay. The medical group I belong to actually has groups for all kinds of things. So anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. I hope you're able to find a way to be in tune with yourself. I hope you're able to find a way to be able to exist very lovingly in your intimate relationships with somebody. And that, I hope your partner, these are things you can tell them and ask them to help you through. Okay. So, and partners, please be understanding and be compassionate. So I'll see everybody back here Monday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public under Shelley Marie Lucas. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, and across the social media board, except for Instagram, because like I said, I can't figure out how to upload it to there yet. But if you are on Instagram, you're probably on Threads, so you can also find it there. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, girls, for coming on, and I hope you all have a lovely and safe weekend.